Good morning. Saturday morning here in Tokyo. Wet, 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 wet Tokyo. We're having a slight brush with a typhoon. It's good. The track has moved from the projected track out to sea, so we're not going to get hit by this thing, it seems. It's a funny one. I know the path of this typhoon, every now and then we get a strange one like this. I think about the link here. No, just a second here. This is a strange one. It was projected to come from the south of the country, just follow up the country. But it's become allergic to Japan, it seems. And it's trying to turn a corner and run away from Tokyo, directly away from Tokyo, according to the forecast. We'll see what actually happens in real life. No idea with this one. Suits me just fine. It's the last thing we want right now. But it's been wet. Holy crap, it's been wet. Rain, rain, rain every day. Autumn for us is normally clear blue skies, you know. You can see what we're up to. Just we're working our way down the tree here now. I was going to say maple leaves, not maple leaves. The pine needles are finished. Now the body of the tree. Once I've done that, we'll hit the sun and the clouds and then head down to the big patch in the bottom. We've got lots and lots of work to do on this thing still. Lots of work. So autumn doesn't start till November, so something like that. Maybe by the time my birthday gets here, we'll have some nice cool weather. Okay, what's the plan for today? We're going to be just doing this normal carving. It's a quiet day, no visitors here, no guests. There is a show and tell. It's a semi-repeat show and tell. We'll talk about it when I get there. It's a good one. Oh, also, that reminds me. You think the pole is levitating? I'm not quite sure. I guess it looks like it's trying to get off the ground. I don't know. So anyway, before I forget, there's a link for you. Watanabe-san and Yamada-kun, they've been doing tons of work on the collection. We have some fabulous new updates to the collection. I'll be talking about one of those at Show and Tell. We'll bring back one of the old prints and we'll link to the collection. But in the meantime, something we saw here on the Show and Tell a few weeks back is now up and loaded, and this is done so well. Watanabe-san just got these just beautifully. If you're on an iPhone, I can't help you, but if you're on a desktop, get that collection page, pull it as wide as you can, turn the lights off so you get a nice dark room, and look at the pages of that book. Okay, I think we're okay. Sharpening, yeah, we're going to need to sharpen in a minute, but let's hack away a little bit first here before we do that. Are we good to go? Everything's all set. Green lights across the bottom. Okay, let's get some work done. Look at a tiny spider. Can you see him? A little spider, or a, what is it? Can you see him on the block here? It's like a little transparent thing. Maybe it's a mite. I'm following him with a knife here. I don't know if you can see him. There he's on the knife. Hoi, hoi, hoi. Hey, guy. It's damp here, so there's all kinds of creatures, you know. I haven't had my bedding aired out for weeks now. It's really bad. It's also not great for the collection, for the prints here, you know. That's another reason why we're so waiting for autumn to come. Clear blue skies. We can get this place aired out. Everything here has been damp since May and June. Okay, get up and running here. So how are things this morning with everybody? Regular crowds here, looking good. Dehumidifiers, dehumidifiers, it's no help. The whole world here, the whole world is just damp. The southern tropical air just comes over the country, and that's it. It just sits here, Not sure how long it's going to last. Save this blocked, uninked, and carved another. Yeah, right. So. Speaking about the collection updates too, there was another thing. I know. Which one did I link to just a few minutes ago? I linked to 82. 82 and 85 both just went up. They're both really interesting. What did I link a few minutes ago? 82. I think I meant to link to this one, 85. This one also went up last night. It's an item that we showed here on Show and Tell. Where to go next? There's no, it's just all sort of random little bits and pieces. So, whatever, just move our way down. As we mentioned the other day, I don't have any updates on the outside stuff right here. The construction next door is quiet. I don't think it's any connection with the typhoon. I think they're just scheduled to start next week. The deconstruction next door was scheduled to continue till the 12th of October. They finished early, so luckily we get a few days of quiet, peace and quiet. So with deconstruction taking until the 12th, I imagine that means the new gang is coming in on October 13th to start their work. So I don't know how disruptive it's going to be to us. It could be quite noisy. I don't know. It also could take quite a long time. They're going to build a whole brand new restaurant from zero, from scratch in there. So it could take quite some time. So that'll be starting next week, I guess. What's the date today? Today's the 10th, 11. Yeah, so I guess it starts next week. I don't know how much I mentioned to you about it. The guy who's going to be the owner of the place next door, the guy running their business, came over and said hello. It was a week or so ago. And he gave me his meishi at the time. I didn't stand there and read it while, he just gave me his meishi out of politeness. Then we stood and chatted for a while. But after he left, I was showing his meishi to Ayama-san, and I looked on the back, and it turned out that this family that's coming in next door, they have a whole bunch of different businesses in the area. I mentioned before, they have a dango business, the round white balls made from rice and rice flour. But they have a bunch of other businesses as well. They're quite the range of different stuff. There's an izakaya up in another part of the district. And then also on the back of his meishi is a bit of a strange one. There's another business listed. It's just got a bit of a strange, meaningless name. But their function is they do, and this is in Japanese, in katakana, they do spiritual healing. Spiritual healing. And I don't really quite know what kind of a business that is. I don't know. whether it's a psychiatrist or whether it's a woo business, or I don't know. There's an address and a phone number, and it says Spiritual Healing. So maybe they're running their own church on the side. I don't know. Don't know. I guess we'll get to know them more and more once they're here, you know. Maybe we should claim the same thing. Come to Mokohanka, look at some woodblock prints and get some spiritual healing. I've got no idea what it is. No idea. Oh, so it's a thing, is it? It's a healing related to Reiki and done with crystals. I don't know. No idea. Very few people on the street today. You said it, of course. It's Saturday morning. That's part of it. All the bars here, of course, they're when it's a day like this, it's really bad for them, of course. So if it had been a nice, normal, bright Saturday, you know, cheerful, then they would be roaring business all day long. They'd start up around 11 in the morning or so, and they just run until about 10 at night. You know. But on a day like this, they're going to get nothing. They'll give it a try. They'll put out their plastic awnings and stuff like that. But they're dead in the water today, absolutely. Any shop would be. I mean, even if we had our own shop open, it would just be nothing today. So. And the guys in the restaurant next door, the one to the left of us, or to the right of us, whichever way you want to look at it, the opposite side from all this construction, the guys in the oyster shack, Kakigoya. I was chatting with one of them. It was yesterday, no, the day before. Yeah, chatting with one the day before. We were just standing outside, and it was a pretty quiet time. Again, it's been raining the last few days. And he put his thumb over his shoulder, you know, inside his restaurant. He shrugged his shoulders, you know, like nobody. We're Death Valley today, you know, whatever. And I made some kind of mumbled comment like, yeah, Saikin Muzukashine. Recently it's been difficult to show. And he made a gesture, like it may be. So maybe their boss or whatever, or the company that runs the place, they might be thinking of pulling out. He didn't know, and he didn't talk to me about it. But the gesture he made leads me to think that it could be that we are going to lose our neighbor. And if I heard that, I wouldn't believe it easily, because they are Death Valley, day after day after day. We're okay. We have an online segment to our business. We're really actually doing okay this year. But those restaurants, boo-hoo-hoo. Part of the reason the problem next door, the oyster restaurant next door, part of the reason is oyster restaurants, actually oyster shacks, whatever, are actually not so common in Japan. They're not so popular here. It's not most people's like first choice when they're walking down the street looking for a place to eat dinner, whatever. Most people, for the most part, would not choose that one. It's not all that popular here. But because they're in a very, very busy district. Speaking before the virus era, they were in a very busy district. It didn't matter because on a typical day here, again in the old world before the trouble hit, on a typical day here in Asakusa, all the restaurants are full all the time, pretty much all day long on the weekends. So even if you've got a kind of restaurant that's not all that popular, it doesn't matter because once everything else is filled up and you've got space, people will eat there because like you're the last one with an empty chair. And that's really literally part of it. So you can be a marginal restaurant and still survive in such a climate when there's just so much demand for the product and not enough suppliers. But now that it's gone the other way, now that it's very, very quiet here, those guys, the marginal ones, are finding it very, very, very difficult. So we'll see how it goes. We could have more construction. So. And as for us doing our own reconstruction down here on the first floor, we're simply just holding on at the moment. We just don't have time. It's been so busy for us, that none of us has a minute of free time to even think about doing more construction here. I should pay more attention to what's going on here, I think. Sorry about this, guys. Anyway, lots of conversation here. Good. Thank you. Oh, Taran-san is here today. Hey, hello again, Taran-san. Sorry about the delay in getting the drawings ready for you. Just whatever other stuff has priority, I'm sorry. I'll get something to you soon. Again, for those of you who don't know, the gentleman who dropped in here, the young man who dropped in here, Taran KC, is a real carver. If you have questions about carving and about life in Japan and stuff like that, toss them at Taran-san here. Look at this conversation. Oh my God, I can't see this. Sorry about this. Throw your questions to Taran-san. John's talking about the microscope camera idea. I bought one and I tried it. We have a light problem. And it turns out that when you run a camera down through your microscope, well, John will get this because he's a photographer. At the moment, there's a light shining on the work here, and I can see it. It looks, to my eyes, it looks quite bright. But when you put a camera on and run it down through the microscope, it turns out that even when the normal light looks light enough to David's eye, or to our eye, when you're only looking at a tiny piece of the view 2 or 3 millimeters, there's not enough, what are they called? Not enough lux, not enough lumens on there. So in order to put a video camera through a microscope, you need super intense, the light of 10,000 suns has to be shining on the zone that you're carving, that you're working on here, to get video through this. So I put that camera up, turned it on, and thought what I had was a bright light on here. And it turns out that, even a video camera has exposure settings, f-stops and speed, per frame and stuff. And we were getting 2 frames per second with this light that you see now, which looks bright to me and bright to you, but doesn't look bright to a video camera. So it's waiting for the next level of testing here. Try and get some special light that will shine super brightly on here. And that will allow the camera to get a decent frame rate. We need, at the bare minimum 12 frames per second. We've got right now 29 frames per second running here. And that's the problem with the video. We have the camera, we have the adapter, we have all the stuff, but we haven't figured out a way to get enough light on here. It's just one more thing waiting for experimentation. Look at this conversation. We talked about this Gampi paper before. The Gampi I'm using here today is not our normal Gampi paper. You know, it's given to me by Chon-san, our carver, and he really likes it. And I can't stand this stuff. You know, I can't stand it. You know, you try and clean off all the last remnants of paper, and they just won't come off. So it leaves this fuzzy white stuff here. And as soon as the work gets delicate, it's difficult to see this. You know, the Gampi paper I've normally been using, it's beautiful, comes off straight and clean, everything comes off. I'll never use this one again, ever. Look at that wall of text over there. Ah, ay. Okay, where are we? Where are we? That part of the tree's done. I'm going to skip the bird here. The birds are going to be on a different block. So this bird head that you see here, where is it? I can't see without my glasses on. This bird that you see here is actually going to be carved off here. The legs are going to appear on this block. Go back to the original here for a second, just so we get clear what's going on here. One day I'll learn which way that zoom works. Here we are. Here's the original, the drawing. The birds are not going to be on the block I'm carving right now. The block I'm carving right now is going to print the black, the body of the trunk, the pine needles, and it'll also have the bird's legs. The bodies of the birds, all the birds you see here, won't be on this key block. They will be done, here's a version of the old one. The birds will be done in just white embossing. So we'll have the legs of the birds. Where's the one we're talking about here, up on this tree trunk? The legs will be on the black block, but the body of the bird will not be. So you can see here the bird's head comes through this tree. That's the area we're talking about here. And I do have to leave the eye. The eye is going to be on this block. So it's a bit, I know, it's a bit, what's the word, fractured and mixed up. That's the way it is. Look at this text. What can I say, guys? I'm sorry, I can't. Hopefully, is Taran-san chatting here? Yes, good, good. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh, that show and tell from the other day, you know, I was looking at it after the stream. I didn't bring it down with me here. There's tons more information. Those of you who were here the other day, whatever, we should just bring it down another day and talk about it some more, because there's tons more information. It was an album of prints from a collector's group, but there was also, it was like the yearly update. The Kaicho-san, the leader of the group, was writing to the members of the group, and it's about 10 pages of information there. And he was giving them the yearly update on what they've been doing and some problems with the group and this and that going on. It's hugely wonderful resource. It was a hugely interesting resource. And a lot of it, it's printed on some super old mimeograph, like the kind they used to use in schools years and years ago. And a lot of it is not quite readable. So it's going to be a bit difficult to get all the information out of it. But it was a ton of fun. After the stream was over, I got back upstairs, got it under a nice light, looked at it, and oh my God, it's great. So yeah, we'll probably be looking at that again when I learn more about it, and when I've got a bit more, not translation, when I get a bit more understanding of some of that text, and I can chat more about it. I'll bring it back down and we'll have a look at it again. And absolutely, it's going to go for a priority for scanning for the collection. That was such great fun the other day. Harada-san's name came up there. And that's the month that he joined that group. It had Harada Kametaro, the guy who, this bench, the guy who used this bench all those years. And he's in that group, and that's the newsletter album from the month he joined, you know. Actually, too, I was chatting with Aoyama-san about that. I showed him that album, and he's like, oh, come on, give me a break. This is too much to be coincidence, you know. And I'm like, no, this is not actually coincidence. And I don't know what you guys thought about this. When I showed this album the other day, inside the album, there was Harada-san's name, who got this bench. There was Nagao-san's name, and he's the grandfather of the lady who owns this building, you know. And people are like, wait a minute, there's too many coincidences here. What's going on? What's going on? And this is not really coincidence happening. It's not like one of those things where the universe just, the 9 planets all line up or something like this. It's not coincidence. Remember, we're here in Asakusa because I chose to come to this district. The reason that book was in my hands yesterday is because I have a Yahoo auction alert set for that type of book. In other words, these are a bunch of chosen things, you know. I chose to meet those people, to know those people, to collect these objects here. So this is not really coincidence. This is, this is somebody reaching out to the world and pulling stuff together from different places and bringing them into this little room here. And then at the end of the day, when I open that album and look at it, and there's Harada-san's name popping up, wow, it looks like coincidence. It's not. It's because I chose this stuff and pulled it in here, you know. Too big. Just thinking about, can you mentally jump forward, what is it, 50 years? No, just jump forward 40 years, Nate. I'm 68 here. You jump forward 40 years, I will, you know, not be around anymore here doing these things. But Taran-san, he's whatever, he's 20-something, I guess, I don't know. So Taran-san will be my age, and he'll be the guy sitting here talking on the Twitch holographic channel or whatever it is that's going on in 60 years from now, you know. And he'll come across some old book and he'll say, oh, this is from that bowl guy. Do people remember that? The guy who was here all these years ago, you know? And he'll come up with something from me. And or maybe he'll be using a bench or something. I mean, when I'm gone, what's going to happen to these tools? He's got tools of his own and from Asuka Sensei and stuff. But these things are going to get passed around and passed along again. No idea where it's going, you know. No idea where it's going. I mean, our stuff here at Mokohanka, I'm getting this organized and putting this stuff all together now, but there's really a pretty big question about the future of this place, I have my daughters are not interested in taking over my business, of course, So who is going to be running Mokohanka a generation from now? Will it still exist or will it die with me? What happens to all the stuff? Who knows? Who knows? It's a slight regret for me that I'm sort of getting into this part of the printmaking world kind of so late. I've been making prints, 40 years. That's no problem. I got into that in my late 20s, 29, or when I was 30, I think. 29 or 30, I started the first prints. That's okay. That's no big deal. But this part about getting involved in these old prints, building this collection, running a business, hiring people, going global, YouTube video, all that sort of stuff, that didn't start until I was 60. That's when I got started in that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of I can't say regret, that's too strong, but it's a bit of a tinge of, too bad, if only I'd got this stuff started quite a bit earlier, And part of it is personal. I would have liked to have enjoyed this stuff for longer. I don't know how many years I've got left, but starting so late, So I look at Tarahan-san there, and I'm just thinking, wow, lucky guy, 20 whatever it is, But I had my chance. I can't bitch about that. I was also 20 something, of course, enjoyed the time. Look at this. My God's going to be a long lunch for me today, reading all this stuff. Oh, Taran-san's on the train. Soka. Sorry about that. I put all that stress on you. Answer the questions. And the guy's on the train. Sorry about that. Oh, well, whatever. Things are what they are. Sorry about that. on the train. So I was watching video on the train with headphones trying to answer on the chat. So, God, not so easy, nay. Okay, the next few days here. Today is it's Saturday morning. It turns out there's no yellow dots on the printing board upstairs for the next 5 days. There will be no printers here the next few days at all. It's just the way that the jobs have worked out, and partly because they're staying away because of the typhoon and stuff and things like that. So it's going to be a very, very quiet time around Mokohanka here for the next few days. So what I finally am ready to do, and I'm not saying this as a tease or whatever, I'm just describing what's going on here. Once the stream is finished here this morning, I'm going to sit and grab a cup of coffee. I had my breakfast this morning, I'm okay, but I'm going to sit and grab a cup of coffee once the stream is ready, is done this morning. And then I'm going to take apart my working corner here. I'm going to put all the tools and stuff away, put them in drawers, get stuff packed up. And the workbench here that I'm working on is going to go upstairs into the collection room temporarily, because it's video time. At long last, it's video time. The cue cards, I've got about, I don't even know how many there are, 100 or so cue cards to talk. I'll put them on the teleprompter, I'll get the camera ready, we'll take the bench upstairs, put the stuff that I'm going to talk about, get the prints, a print stand ready. Finally, it's YouTube video time. There's 10,000 other jobs waiting, but we've cleared the decks, and the next 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I'm going to try and get the video part filmed so that I can get the bench back down here for Monday morning ready for more work, but I may not make it. So Monday's stream could be strange. If I don't get the filming all finished by Monday, then I don't want to take it apart. It'll be a studio upstairs, so I might leave it up there, and next Monday stream might be one of those, what do you call them? I don't know, fly on the wall stream, where I'm doing some recording for YouTube and you guys can just watch for a bit. Or if it's all in the can by then, I'll be back down here Monday morning. So I don't know. This is a big one. I know I did a test run last night with no cameras, no nothing. I just put the audio recorder up, pretended that I had prints I was showing, put the cue cards on a little stand in front of me, and I just ran the thing. 48 minutes. So I don't know if this is a sensible thing to do or not, or does anybody want to sit there for 48 minutes? I know there will, some people will want to sit there. Anyway, it's me, we're going to give it a try here. So finally, after 4 months of delay, Production starts on the next YouTube video about a half an hour after this stream finishes. At last, at last, at last. And this one's going to be a little bit different. And part of the reason why this video has been so long in the making, it's been so long since the previous one, is I got myself in a bit of a jam. You know, those of you who know what our YouTube videos are like, it's Dave talking about something, whatever, and then showing a bit of B-roll about Prince. And I got into a bit of a, I can't say I got myself into a jam, that's the wrong thing to say, but it turns out that the first ones we made in the David's Choice series, whatever, I put the camera up, talked for like 3 minutes, and that was the end of the video. Then a little while later we did another one, got the camera ready, got some prints ready, talked for like 10 minutes, and there it was. And they've grown and grown and grown, but it's always been a point of whatever. It's like, Dave, you can do it in one take, kind of a stupid idea. And in one of those videos, I think it's about a 20-minute video, it's actually in two, and I apologized partway along. There's a camera break, and it comes back, and idiot Dave here apologizes for the camera break, you know. And I realized that it doesn't matter. You don't have to do stuff in one take. You can say something, get it organized, take another take if it doesn't come out quite as way you wanted to say it, and then try again. And you can like edit them together. And nobody's expecting this thing all to be in one piece. But stupidly, it's either whatever. I've been trying to do it that way. So this time, finally, I realized, don't do that. Script it. I've got these cue cards, and there we have scene 1. A specific place. We're going to put the camera up, do it, and it's like 3 or 4 minutes. We're going to do scene 1, cut. Then sort myself out, relax for a bit, get the next stuff ready, think about what I want to say, and do the next piece. So it's going to be more of a, rather than one single, keep talking until you get to the very end and don't let go and keep talking and then finish, rather than being something like that, it's going to be, here we are, and now. And then here we are, and something else. So we're going to build it piece by piece rather than try a single. Well, this is funny. Someone's saying, wear the same shirt in the takes. And I think what I might do is I might specifically not do that. Even though I'm recording them maybe all in one day. In other words, break them all. Don't try and make it seem like it's a single one thing. We'll talk about one part of the topic here, and then click, click, different shirt, different setup, different room, and here's another part of it. It's more like a different kind of presentation rather than a single one thing. Because I just can't do that anymore. I can't keep it up for 45 minutes and hold my breath and not stumble over the words and get it all right for 45 minutes. There's no way. And it's not sensible to be trying to do it that way. So anyway, long story short, this one is going to be a bit of a different approach. Those NHK programs, the Journeys in Japan that I used to do back when they still hired me, you know, whenever they called me for those programs, we'd book it. It would be 3 or 4 days up at such and such a place, and then the producer would always make sure, Dave, make sure you got some shirts, eh? And the rule was you had to have the same shirt, at least two of the same shirt, because we were filming over a period of a few days. But the finished program was trying to make it look like we had just made a single visit to this town. Come in, get off the train, walk around, talk to people, and go home. And they didn't want clothing changes in the middle of the program. But it's taking us 3 days or 4 days to make the program. And you can wash a shirt in the sink in your hotel room, but you need at least 2 to be able to do that. So the NHK producer would say, Dave, make sure at least two shirts, right? The same one. You know. I'm like, yeah, okay. Does Mokohanka have a mascot? We sort of have a mascot. The gentleman you see behind me here, he doesn't get a chance to come out very much anymore. My mother, who's probably here today watching, she sent us, we had a bit of a meme running on the stream 2 years ago, 3 years ago? No way, it's 3 years ago. The owl. 3 years ago, we had a meme about owls running on the stream a few years ago. And my mother, as part of that, she sent us a little owl that she found at a place nearby her. And ever since then, he's been sitting there. His name is Fridge, and I don't remember why, other than that it's probably some connection with the It's Not Garbage video. Which, by the way, the It's Not Garbage video gets comments, and the most common comment on that video is the fridge still running? So I think that's where the mascot name came from. Is my mother watching here today, or is she off with Sherry somewhere? Mom, if you're there, say hello, join in. Thanks for sending Fridge. The Owl Prince, 3 years ago to show, 2017. Where is my life going? Where is my life going? I don't know if my mother's on. I don't quite know how to tell, even if... is that what the link is here? Users in chat. Oh, my mother is here. I am watching, just had my flu shot. Hey! Good. Hang in there. Thanks again for sending this. I'm sorry we're not making more use of it in the streams, and it should be more front and center sometimes, you know. So, for those of you who don't know, the lady that's called It Is Hopeless, which is not exactly her life philosophy, obviously, the lady called It Is Hopeless is my mother. She's watching from Vancouver. She's watching from Vancouver. Flu shots. This is not corona or something. It's just a normal everyday flu shot, right? So, where's my life going? You watch me carve the owl. That's 3 years ago. 3 years ago. No COVID shots yet, except for that guy. Well, my mother's over there in Vancouver. She's not totally alone. My sister lives nearby. But her other kids, Dave here lives in Japan, and my brother lives in Germany, or he's in progress, moving from Germany to Thailand. So we don't get much chance to see my mom these days. I was over there last February, just before all this crap hit. I made a gamble that I'd be able to get back. So I made a quick trip to Vancouver and got back in time just before everything shut down. But I don't know when I'll be able to get there again. No idea. Okay, I believe that's it for the tree to show. Where shall we go next? Let's zoom out a bit here. The top part of the tree is now done. I mean, this is not the way the old carvers used to do it. Taran-san here, it's interesting to see what he's going to be doing. Dave here, because he's a bit of a control freak, does it zone by zone. That zone of needles, bum, 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 and also I've cleared out away. So what needs to be done, the sun has to be carved here, the cloud shapes. But I think what I'm going to do is I'll leave that. I'm going to come down to the bottom here. We're going to open up another area down here and start carving down here. Here's what it looks like. There's another tree trunk and there's a bunch of grasses and a little stone here. So I think I'll come down below the pine needles we did into these grasses. Let's open up a bit more. Bit of water here, excuse me, sorry for the... Got my shot from the same shop that Fridge came from. Flu shot you're talking about? Like Shoppers Drug Mart or someplace like that. Is that it? Or Man, I do not like this Gampi. I'm sorry to complain and be a complainer, but I do not like this Gampi. Nanda, nanda, nanda. First major carving job I do in a year and I get stuck with bad Gampi. Real professional at work here. Not even using my own supplies and tools, so... But John-san swears by it. He says it's great stuff. He loves it, and he's a good carver, so I trusted it. And I guess he likes it, but I sure don't. But whatever. I think what's happened, the difference is we've glued it down in a different way. He has a certain kind of glue that he glues it down with, which maybe is stronger than the glue I'm using. So he can then really moisten it and rub and get rid of these fibers. But the glue I used I think it's strong, but I can't rub much more than this or it's going to peel the paper off the wood. So that may be the difference, Part of it too is I think when I rubbed mine down, I rubbed it with a baron on the back and really schmucked it down into the wood. And there might be a downside to that. It probably pulled some glue up into the Gampi or pressed the glue up into the Gampi. So the reason this is not coming off so easily is because it's got glue in it, maybe. The glue that I used when I pasted it down. And if he doesn't do it that way, Chon-san doesn't do it that way, he just lightly presses it down, then maybe the Gampi pulls away easily and because it didn't get glue inside it. There's lots of factors here. But anyway, I do not like it. You can see what a mess this is. You've seen our normal peels, right? It just comes off. Anyway. So okay, let's just work our way down to this corner. So how were they done in the old days? Instead of photocopying onto Gampi, they just drew on very thin paper, similar to Gampi or Gampi. They drew directly onto it, pasted that face onto the wood, peeled off the back, and carved it. there was no intermediate step when you're making original prints back in the old days. They drew on the paper, pasted it down. And there's been in the news recently some old tracings. They're called hanshita, block copies, hanshita. A bunch of them from the old era came up recently, and the British Museum has a bunch of them in their collection. If you Google British Museum Hokusai hanshita, the news will come up about a bunch of those drawings from the old days that have been preserved. This looks like, hi, domo, arigatou gozaimasu. Ha, domo, ome kara desu ne. Hi. Domo, thank you. Oh, look at that. Nekoroji. This is Yamato-san. Yamato. This is the Black Cat Delivery Company. Their slogan is Nekoroji. Ecology. Neko. Neko is cat. Ecology is ecology. And this is Nekoroji. You saw the big black letters on the box there. This is not something for show and tell. This is a shipment from Ome. Our office in Ome does the packing of the prints. And they're still sending a bunch of them to me. I will take these and put them into a FedEx box on Monday. They will be on their way to America. Also, there's news on that score. We got the update from the post office yesterday. As of the 9th of October, there are now some direct postal shipments going between Japan and America. They are not taking EMS service. They are not taking registered mail. They are not taking anything with a tracking number. But they will take small packets, which are our subscription prints. So it could be, we're going to explore this from Monday, it could be we can start to send direct now to America at last. And when I was there at the post office yesterday, we were asking them about this. They gave us the details. And then we said, what about Australia? And they're like, not yet. So, Nekoroji. Someone's got it, the British Museum collection. So. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why. I have no idea why. Well, I do know why. It's a question of the numbers of flights going back and forth. Places like Australia and New Zealand have closed. There aren't flights coming in. New Zealand is totally closed. Whereas America, still people are flying in and around all over the world. There are planes flying back and forth to America. So that means there's room for carrying some stuff. So it's not a question of how much virus is on the ground, it's a question of how many airplanes are moving back and forth between the two places. And in the case of Oceania, Australia and New Zealand, there are very few airplanes moving around between here and there. This is now going to be a whole different kind of carving. This whole zone now, look at this. We have leaves which taper and smooth with a bit of rough stuff, but mostly now it's lines and tapers and curves. This part is going to be pleasure. I know I'm not supposed to say that. We talked about this just the other day, the same thing. I'm not supposed to have preferences, but leaves are nicer to carve than branches. Just whatever. Just they are. watching my time. How are we doing for time? Oh, 9:13. It's almost time. Soka, soka, soka. Soka, soka. It's almost time for show and tell. Okay. Okay. 9:15. Show and tell. Just a sec. Let me finish this last little tiny bit here. Okay. Now, for today, I never thought drinking would pair with this type of content, but you're mistaken. Drinking's okay for you, but I can't drink while I do this. Okay, show and tell today is a bit of a repeat. The item we're going to put on the table here today, we've seen before. I don't remember. It's years and years and years ago. We've seen before. But the reason I'm bringing it up today is one thing mainly. It's now online. The book we're going to look at now, which we've looked at a long time ago, this has been the subject of one of our YouTube videos. It's also been on show and tell before, but it's now online. And the book I'm about to show you now, you can see yourself in super close up. I think, I forget the number, 82. I think this is it. And as I mentioned before earlier here, if you're on a desktop computer, wherever you are, if you're in America now, it's evening. Great, this is perfect. If you're on a desktop computer, go to that link in your browser, pull it widescreen, go full screen, turn the lights off in your room. Someone says, oh, this book. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it said or not. Oh, this book, or oh, this book. I don't know. It's a set of 3. And we'll look at volume 3, which we never looked at before. Full screen on a 27-inch display with the lights out. It is incredible. I'm so happy we've been able to bring this stuff like this, you know. We have here a letter that says, thank you. And what this is, it's an eBay receipt. The person who sent this to me, why do I have the idea it's a lady? No, it's a guy. I thought it was a lady. Anyway, whatever. So this is the eBay. And it's interesting. The first bid, was $9.99. I guess that was the opening price. And the total number of bids on this auction were 2. So somebody bid the base price or whatever, or something, and then I bid on top of it. And the hammer fell at $338. So $338 is what I paid for this. And this is back in, this is 2002, not 1902, this is 2002. $338. So the other person must have bid $335. The other person must have bid $335, I guess, and I bid $338 or whatever, something like that. And that's it. 2 bids on the auction. That's all there was, and we got it. Let's find a good. Anyway, so there you go. It's a set of 3 books. It was published over a period of years in Tokyo here, aimed at tourists at the time, aimed at foreign residents in Tokyo and aimed at tourists at the time. And this was in 1909, the book was originally made. And there's a few key points about this. And when I showed this before, the key point I mentioned before about it was that the text of this book, all the text of this book is carved. And this was the really different thing compared to many other books of this era. The prints are woodblock prints. They are, carved and printed the same way that you've seen me doing this in the past little few hours here. But all the text was also carved and printed. And this is the origin of what we call now our Hasegawa font. And Markku-san, a young man in Finland, has taken this text and worked it into a computer font. A font face or a typeface or whatever, how academic you want to be about the words being used. The covers, somebody's mentioning crepe, the covers are done in creped paper, and these are padded. It's got a really, really beautiful, nice view. So, as John is mentioning, the typeface that you see at the top of this video here, this is also done in the Hasegawa font. And as far as finding that, I should have prepared this as a link for you. I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking too far in advance here. But if you go to mokohanka.com, I'll put the link in here. I'll just put it in. mokohanka.com/fonts. If you go to there, you will find a downloadable version. Oh, it's the guard again. Hello, guys. Just in time. You come every day at the same time to show. You miss all the work, actually. So, and here we have another page example. And everything you see here, all the text, was actually carved and printed. And they've done a beautiful, beautiful job. They made their own design for each letter in a way that it could be drawn with a Japanese brush. The carvers who carved this couldn't read it. They couldn't read it, but they knew curved shapes when they saw them, and they could carve it beautifully. It's like Dave, when I was doing the Poet series, I carved all the Japanese calligraphy. I couldn't read it, but I had enough sense and feel for how the curve of the letters happened. And the book is, you can see what it is. It's a bunch of poetry from Japan, translated into English, and put together with imagery. And it's done so beautifully. This is Hasegawa, and their whole house style was what you see here today. Delicate carving and printing. A lot of it's so delicate you can barely see it, the pink on those blossoms. This is 1909. The books were published over a period from 1909 to 1914. And the ones I have here, as far as we can tell, they seem to be a 1914 edition of the 3 books printed together. But the original publication was, as I said, during that period, 1909 to 1914. Lots of open space, lots of Japanese aesthetic, and delicate printing. This isn't a flat green, they've done a gradation. They just keep pouring it on and pouring it on and pouring it on. And as I said earlier, if you're just dropping in now, every page of this book is now on our Mokohanka collection at super high resolution, and you can just drool over it. Here's the link again. Every page of this book is now online for browsing. I say this book, all 3 volumes. The English version of these poetry, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about this. I know it's very, Victorian. But here we are, it's full of alasses and alaks and whatever. So I don't know if the poetry makes much sense for us today here these days, because it's done in a style from well over 100 years ago in English. And there's something else about this book that is, to me, is absolutely repellent. I don't know, if I can find, for example, here, if we find volume 1 for a minute. This is the volume we looked at on the YouTube channel. There are poems in here that I myself find a kind of repellent. It's a Westerner's view of what they thought was heroic Japanese Bushido at the time. And even Japanese people currently these days that I've shown this to and talked to about it, they're like, oh my God, Dave, please don't keep talking about that stuff. Please don't do this. And they've got something like this. It's whatever. We can look at it just for the purpose of telling what it's about. Within my treasure house, a casket lies. I'm not going to blah, blah, blah. Anyway, 2 dragons. Anyway, he's talking about his swords. This guy is a samurai who is not allowed to go out and hack people to death anymore. He's got his swords. They're in the treasure house. And this is 1909, in the era where Japan is militarizing. I guess maybe even they're at war with Russia already, or about to go to war with Russia. I don't remember. Be still my swords, and yet the day of action dawns near. And like, no thank you. No thank you. But so when I put these books up here, I'm loving the object that we're looking at, the beautiful paper, the carving, the printing, the ethics of bookmaking, but I am not on board with the philosophy of any of this poetry. There's one here, it's in this volume or another, it's in volume 3. It's a guy who has done something wrong, and it's his death poem, and he is about to do himself in. And the Westerners who translated this are all full of, oh my God, what a wonderful ethic and stuff. And Dave here doesn't find suicide to be anything praiseworthy or whatever. We don't need to maybe go into it too much, but no thank you. No thank you, no thank you. So I have mixed feelings. Maybe I shouldn't show these books because I don't believe in the philosophy espoused in them. Or can we divorce the 2 things? They are just goddamn beautiful, beautiful objects. And the men who made them had nothing to do with Bushido anyway. They were just craftsmen. Just craftsmen. Making beauty for the world. Well, someone's saying, how is that offensive? Whatever, it is from another era. I get it. It's a different era. People thought in a different way. I'm not sort of even insulting them. They grew up with a certain way of training and thinking things. So it's the same thing. How much do we criticize another era? How do we criticize Washington for being a slaveholder when we don't do that sort of thing nowadays? I guess it's the same sort of thing. The way these men were thinking for themselves, I get it. It's nothing to do with me. They had their own lives. The part that bothers me a little bit is the Westerners. This book was made for Westerners who came to Japan and wanted to learn about that exotic, wonderful country where people did all these, wow, incredible, exotic things. And the Westerners honored that kind of strange behavior. And that's the part that bothers me a little bit. So, anyway, whatever. Anyway, you can make your own mind up about this. As I said, every page of these books, every single page in high resolution is now on that website. You can look at them if you want, or you can take a pass, whatever. Someone's asking, will you add to the collection the crepe paper books? Yes, one by one by one. We're digging through it. There are hundreds of books here. It's going to take a very long time. We plan to have everything online. But it is going to take time. How do you look at the other pages? When you're on the website, when you're looking at the page of each book, there's a link that says additional images. click it, open it up, and there's the full pages of the book that are there. And any one you click to bring it up, once the image is clicked, if you're on a desktop, use the arrow keys, left, right, so you can go through the whole book just with the arrow keys, left, right. And if you're on a tablet or iPhone, once you've popped up the images, tap right or tap left, and it takes you to the next page. I thought it was kind of clear, additional images, but I'm sorry, whatever. So as somebody says, it is what it is, they are what they are, it's okay. I mean, it's here. I'm in a word, in my sense, I'm glorifying it, I'm showing this, so it's okay. I'm simply expressing the idea that Dave himself doesn't fly with that stuff, I'm sorry, Someone's asking questions and I'm missing questions. I'm sorry, whatever, I can see, When you go to the link I sent you, if you go to that link, then you look at the bottom and it says, I don't remember it. I've got my browser closed. I don't want to open a browser because of the streaming here. Okay, there should be this thing, when you open the link I sent you, it should say related items, book 1, book 2, and book 3. You click on book 1 to see book 1, and now it's got additional images, which show every page of the book. I'm sorry. The bokashi on the dragons page, how do you do it? The bokashi on the dragons page, that's volume 1 to show. The bokashi on the dragons page. Oh, I know, it's an atenashi bokashi to show. I know, where are we here? Can't find it. Korin-san, where is it? Book 1, book 2? Here we are. Got you. So the question is, bokashi. How do you do this? It's freestyle. There's nothing else to say. It's freestyle. These black gradations, there's a block carved. There's a block carved for the background of this image with the space for the dragons taken out of it. So it's basically a blank wood block this big. Dragons are missing, and the gradations are done freestyle. The block would be dampened with a moist cloth. Ink would be dabbed on here and there, and then with a brush, do a bit more, do a bit more, do a bit more, rub it out, rub it out, rub it out. It's done with a blank block and a vertical brush, the hangabake, and simply brushed out by feel. If you had multiple copies here to look at, you would find copy 1, copy 2, copy 3 would all have slight variations on this. This is called ate nashi bokashi. Ate nashi. No, nothing to hit. There's nothing carved. It's just a blank piece of wood, and this is all done freestyle. So there would be some pigment dropped in the middle there, and the guy with the brush would just rub it around, rub it around, rub it around, rub it around, bit by bit by bit, and the pigment blends with the water around the outside. It's very, very difficult. If I give this to our printers upstairs, they're just going to say, oh my God, no thank you, no thank you. It's freestyle, and it's not part of ukiyo-e printing at all. In the old days, they would never have dreamed of doing stuff like this. This is something that came along in the 20th century when people were trying to stretch the woodblock technique into something being more picturesque and stuff like that. This is absolutely not ukiyo-e style printing at all. Well, the base printing is ukiyo-e style printing, carving black lines, filling in the colors. But this kind of toning and gradation, not at all. Not at all, not at all. And yes, multiple impressions, absolutely. This is not one shot. There's a little bit of a gray comes out further, then a medium one. At the minimum, at the bare minimum, this is done with 2. And if I were going to try this myself, I would do it with much more. You'd do a little bit more, peel it off, have a look. Rub a bit more, peel it off, have a look. Difficult, difficult stuff. No way around it. Very difficult. And this is 1 page of a book. My God, 1 page of a book. Whatever. How do they keep ink off the dragons? They're carved out. The dragon area you see is carved away from the wood block. It's carved out of the wood block. So it's a wood block with holes in it. And the holes don't catch pigment. Don't catch pigment. Will I look at this for the coal-you-side dragon print? No, the dragon we're making is going to be quite a different dragon from what you see here. You'll see. It won't be anything like this. It's a coal-you-side dragon. Darkest first light, start with lighter. Work light, go up, 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 and the last ones would be the darkest ones on top. You'd start with a lighter group, bit by bit, build it up, build it up, build it up. Absolutely. Build it up. Okay. It's 9:30. I'm not going to sit and go through all of these books. I just wanted to mention them because I wanted to really advertise from our website there. The collection page. Every page of these now is up there. High resolution. And more coming. More coming. Okay, it's Saturday morning. I am now going to take apart my printing bench here and take it upstairs. Today is finally, after months of preparation, today is video day. Video preparation today. The video won't be up tonight for sure. It's going to be days and days of filming and then days and days of audio on top and B-roll. So sometime later this week, there will be a new YouTube video. It'll be about 45 to 50 minutes long. It'll be one theme. It should be interesting for you, I think. And it'll be a few days' work for me. And I'll be back Monday morning with either another carving stream or it'll be a video editing stream, something like that. We'll see. I don't really know. No idea. Thanks for watching very much. And a quite rainy day here. I hope you guys are taking care of yourself. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you again in a couple of days. Bye for now. Dragons and swords. Dragons and swords. Bye for now.